select, down to 3. Go over to the setup parameters. And we'll change that one to 8. And then we'll fire one through and we'll see how big the dots are.
And then also the DLY is to tell us that we're at a 5 millisecond delay.
If we change that to like a 10, the dots are going to go higher up on the page.
Okay.
Are you taking video right now? Okay. So there's 2 sections where you can change the delay. And I want to make sure. Oh, there's another thing we changed. We changed the trigger configuration to light on instead of dark on, which means it's looking for the trail edge of the paper to start its trigger. This GTO is gun to trigger. That's the distance that the sensor is away from the gun. And you can change that for channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, channel 4. You want to make sure channel 1 and channel 3 are the same setting. Otherwise, one dot's going to be up here and one dot's going to be up here. So those have to be the same if you change them. I think we'll leave it at 100. That sounds about right.
Yeah, low.
So just remember, if you ever change 1, you got to change 3 as well.
Exactly.
Because they're both going off the same trigger. And then we'll trigger 2 we don't use, trigger 3 we don't use, trigger 4 we don't use, pressure, curve, driver assignment. So here's our bead type. Now if you change this dot parameters, that'll actually change the size of the dot as well. So you can do this duration changes it, but also the time. So if you change to a different channel, you got to make sure you go in and change both of them. Because channel 1 and channel 3, they're individual settings. Okay. We were gonna bump this one up to, I think 9 maybe 10, I don't know. We'll see what 10 looks like. So that was channel 3, channel 1. And we'll see how big the dots are, the settings, right? So you showed me it was these 2 buttons and then that button, right?
Yeah, all 3.
So that's what brings up all your menus. Hold down. So I'm just gonna scroll through menu by menu. This one wasn't changed. This one was fine. This is good, unless you want to change it to, let's see, Dutch. We don't want to do all that.
No.
So we'll just keep it in English. Trigger memory, system settings 2. There was no change here. Tip sealer settings, I didn't change anything there. This just shows you when the machine's on. So channel assignment. So these were all set to active. So what we wanted to do, deactivate channel 2. We're never using channel 2. Channel 2 is not even hooked up in the back. Channel 3 is active, and channel 4 is inactive. Channel 1 and 3 means it's going to be doing all 4 heads. So if you were to turn off, if you were to turn that one to inactive, now you're only going to get dots coming out of one side. Okay? So 1 and 3 need to be active. Get into the meat of this stuff here. So we did change the trigger configuration. That's what we talked about. So it was set to dark on, which means as soon as the sensor saw the lead edge of the piece of paper, it starts on that delay, and it starts on the trigger settings. We don't want that. We wanted it when you do light on, when the sensor turns back on. So when the back edge of the paper leaves the sensor, now it's going to start its delay cycle. So the reason we want that is so the lead edge of the paper is already in the rollers by the time the trigger point starts. So then you get a consistent trigger every time. Since the encoder is rolling on the rollers and not the registration table, the encoders, once you hit this nip point where the paper is in these rollers, now it's tracking perfectly. So it can slip all it wants on that table. But as soon as it hits those rollers, it starts pulling through at the same speed as that encoder. It's going to be dead nuts. It's going to be perfect every time. So you don't got to worry about some of them falling off the back edge of the paper, some of the glue dots, as you're running through the day. So that's why we switched that to light on. The next couple menus are the trigger 2, we don't use it. We don't even have it hooked up in the back. Trigger 3, trigger 4. So the gun to trigger channel 1, we did change that. That was set to about 400 before. So I changed that to about 100. That's just because we have less space from our trigger. We moved our sensor closer to the guns, so that's why we dropped this number down. And same for channel. We go to channel 3. Anytime we make a change to 1, we're going to make a change to 3, because those are our 2 active channels. So that's why 3 and 1 are both at 100, and those were both set to about 400 before. So if the sensor gets moved back to the way back of the table again, these numbers need to increase. I don't know why you'd ever want to do that, but just so you're aware. We'll switch out of this one. Trigger 2, like I said, we don't have a trigger 2, trigger 3, trigger 4. Now the pressure settings, I didn't adjust these settings at all. These were pressure 1 and pressure 2 settings. I didn't adjust them. So we did adjust the knob on the back here. Yeah, there is an actual manual adjustment back there. And I think right now it's set to 60 psi. On the front of the tank, I think is maybe 50 psi. So this is inside the hoses. This one back here is the actual trigger of the glue. The driver is set. So this was set to 5 volts before, and we weren't getting a purge. So that's what we bumped. Channel 3 and channel 1 bumped up from 5 volts to 10 volts. So those, I can't explain those ones. When we tried to purge it, it didn't work, right? So we bumped those up, and now it works. So I can't explain those too much more. Compensation, I didn't change. Now bead type. Here's where you set up your beads. Right now we'll do channel 1. If we wanted to do channel 2, channel 3, channel 4, it's all here. Start with 1. This is the dot parameters, how long the dot is going to turn on. So like I said, this 4.5 milliseconds, we can raise that up, and it'll make the dot bigger. Or you can also go to your duration. Increase that make your dot bigger. Those two work in conjunction with each other to get you the perfect size dot. We'll go back to the beginning. So pitch is just that one I didn't change. It's set to the minimum setting. So we dropped all. If you want to do more than one dot from a single head, that's when you would put this is your delay here.
Yeah.
You can have up to 4 different dots.
Okay.
Fire 1, 2, 3, 4 rapid fire.
Okay.
And that's where you would set the timing on those.
Okay.
It was set to like 100, 200, maybe 300, something like that. We just dropped it all to minimum.
Okay.
And as long as there's zeros in here, we're only going to get 1 dot.
Okay.
So that's channel 1. And then you always remember you got to do channel 3 and match those settings. So you want, if you make a change to 3, make sure you make a change to 1. Because these are independent of each other. Go back to 3, make sure those are all the same. Same thing. Delay of 5 milliseconds. Duration of 10 milliseconds. Or whatever that is.
Okay.
Millimeters, I don't know. I can't remember what it is. But as long as they match, your dots will be... Your dots should be identical when they come out. So this is with a delay of 10 and a duration of, a delay of 5, duration of 10. This is the size we got.
Okay.
Looks pretty good. Maybe a little large, but you guys will know how to go through and make those slight adjustments.
Okay.
Once we get the timing belt put back on.
Right.
And these are flowing through not by hand and actual by the machine, you'll get a better feel of how they're gonna look once it's folded in half.
Okay.
And they'll squish down and make the little oval.
Right.
I think that might be all of it. And then there's a save if you want to save. I didn't save anything, but I think this thing automatically saves as you go.
Yeah, but we are working off of program 2. Everything is
So
working off
that's
of
where
program 2.
everything's set in program.
Okay. I guess you don't need to explain it.
Okay. All right. You on?
Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna do our channel 1. How long the duration? We're gonna lift that up to 8. If you look at the dots that we got are a little bit small, so we want to make them a little bit larger.
Right. Right.
So channel 1, we went to 8. Channel select down to 3. Go over to the setup parameters.
Right.
And we'll change that one to 8.
Right.
And then we'll fire one through and we'll see how big the dots are.
And then also the DLY is to tell us that we're at a 5 millisecond delay.
So if we change that to like a 10, the dots are going to go higher up on the page.
Okay. All right. Okay.